All right, good morning, everybody. I'd like to convene the Washington County Public Works Committee to order, please. And with that, could I please get a motion to accept our minutes from our September 30th session? Lance, second by Sue. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. On the department reports, Public Works, Deb, floor is yours.
So you have a list of surplus auction carpool items. So we're hoping we can declare them surplus. I hope we put enough miles on them.
So move. Second.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Lance. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
We also have 4 trucks, plow trucks that we would like to declare surplus. There are two of them are 2014s, 2 of them are 2015s, because guess what? We got 4 trucks from 2020.
Are they in?
We got 4 trucks in. The 4 trucks we ordered in 2023.
There goes the cash.
They have boxes. Yes, they have boxes. I know. So because of that, we have 4 that we would like to declare per surplus and sell.
So move. Second.
Dave, Lance seconds. Discussion. Jay.
No, go ahead. These will go up for bid auction to the town first before we. Everything.
These are all Max Force engines, if you want me to put them to the town.
Oh, okay, I'm just waiting for more explanation.
Yeah. So I mean, we can, of course, but especially 33, I would not vote it or bid on, I would. So in early 2026, we will be getting our 2024 purchases. And then later in 2026, we hope to get our 2025 purchases. The 2025 purchases are the ones that are on the rotation that are in good shape and we'll sell to you for 250,000.
East, I thought the estimate was 85,000.
We're somewhere in the
A
middle.
little
of
bit
the
different.
We have a budget to work on.
I think there might be a bidding war now.
Budget adjust.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Dan?
No, he covered it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
We have an other. We always have an other. So
Is that the law bridge?
so here's the other.
You have?
Mr. Chairman, question for them. I know we've already approved it, but the sale of the vehicles. Is there a simple explanation why the 2015 only has 23,000 miles
Yes.
on it?
So I was hoping you would ask me.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I
I
will.
thought somebody was going to.
So you know how our paver and our big trucks are not really miles, they're hours. With buildings, there are a number of buildings and grounds trucks that are charged hours as well, and this is one of those.
But it's,
Because it runs around here, it doesn't go on the road, it's mostly around, I mean, I don't know exactly what county buildings and grounds trucks do, but because of the way it works, it's got an hour meter on it, and that's how it's charged. You know how if a department uses a vehicle, they
yes,
pay for mileage.
right,
This department vehicle pays for hours.
but it's still got miles on it.
Yes, yeah, because it has to get from hour to hour. This one came from DPW, I believe. Yeah, this was the flatbed from DPW. So we can just put those ones.
The DPW is. I just, something doesn't. And I know this sounds like I'm criticizing, I'm not, it just doesn't make sense that this would end up that way.
So if you want us to do it by miles, it will never pay for itself. It might go a mile a day and run for 8 hours. There's a reason we do it by hours.
I don't have a problem with that.
Oh,
I'm
what
having a
question?
problem with the fact that it's only got 23,000 miles. That drivetrain isn't even under warranty warranty isn't gone on it. It's the engine has the hours, the drivetrain doesn't. And it, for that kind of mileage and that kind of money now for a truck, throw another engine in it. I mean, there's something not right with that mindset. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you go about it. I'm not being critical to you, Deb. I'm just saying that bothers me. It's only got under 24,000 miles.
We should
And
bid on
it's
it.
20, what is it, 15 years old?
I think the condition of the body is impacting this as well.
Well, unless it's banged up and we do the undercoating like we say, we shouldn't have a bad body on either. With 23,000 miles.
Says
It says
it's
it's
extremely rusty.
extremely rusty on the frame.
Yeah, but see, then we're not doing something right.
For a 2013.
2013, yes. I got a 2015, there's no rust on it. And it's got 157,000 miles on it, and I'm planning on driving another 5 years. And I depend on it to get up here to make my voice heard.
And you were on top of it. But it's working.
I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it.
It does beg the question that, and I agree with you, I have a 2011, out in the parking lot, I have 251,000 miles on that thing. And, it's starting to get a little bit of rust, but generally speaking, everyone's a little different, but to your point, right, in terms of how we maintain and care for the vehicle, we probably ought to take a look at that. In this case, I couldn't answer that question as to how it got that way. If it was undercoated, right? Any other discussions? Question on that? What's your other?
Others is from. So we have County Route 6 up in Hewlett's Landing. And it's up on the board.
And this is Charlie's terrain.
Yep. And the homeowner Dwayne and Barbara are over here. And they have approached us to ask if they could purchase the road, the part of County Road 6 that's up there. From us. So we went up and looked at it and we have no use for it. So we recommend that it be purchased or conveyed in the way that the highway law allows us to. So we have to do a little bit more research to figure out the proper way to convey it, but DPW has no opposition to conveying that property.
Where you turn around that with the truck?
They use the pickup truck out there.
If it helps. The county pays to approximately, and Mr. Simpson can improve your wrong, but I think to the end of the Borden property. Currently, that's where they stop. That's on here on your map. This is where the county paving stops. Now, the question is, there may be two options. I'm not sure which one's the better option at this point. If we do an abandonment, you kind of have to do almost a diagonal line from the end of the Knight property down to the intersection of the Semkin and Borden property. If we abandon it, then this portion from here, on this side of the road from here to here would actually attach to the Knight Brown property. Whereas if we do it simply from here straight across up to where the other Simpson property is. We did something similar with Berquist Road, as you may recall, earlier this year. That requires a resolution from the one saying that county no longer has use for it. But more importantly, it then becomes, it has to be public auction. And then anybody could bid on this strip and it might complicate things a little bit.
Why couldn't you run a line straight across of where the dike property at, straight across?
As I said, I think the paving, if you go straight across, you still have this whole area here. County paving stops right there.
Okay,
So you'd have,
but even though it'd be that little short section that's unpaved, would that, if you come straight across? Right there. Now, if you don't, I mean, if you don't come straight across, if you eliminated that piece of property to have any road frontage.
I think the other issue is this, actually the right of way was done by a deed, the Lopan deed, and the other day, and I still have to kind of look. So I'm not sure if we may have to survey it to actually figure out, depending on which way we do it, how we might have to hack it up afterwards. We might have to file 2 deeds, we might have to file 1, it kind of depends on which way we do it. So at this point, we're trying to look at what's the most cost-effective way of doing it so that everybody, for lack of a better term, gets what they want.
But you could come straight across if you wanted to.
You could, but then again, then we still have a portion from here to here.
It's not paved.
It's not paved, it would still be a county right of way. Then if you, maybe that's different where if you abandon it here to here, but the issue is you'd have to have another deed that at least cuts that section. Right now, I believe the deed for the right of way runs here to here.
I should point out that it is paved. All the way up to the other, it's paved.
Oh, so then that eliminates paving issue.
Now, that's the point when you drive down. Do you plan on gating that or anything, or leave that for, I know a lot of people walk out on the rock point.
Right, and which is our property. also.
Right.
So that's part of the reason that we brought this up. We purchased it in 2008. I grew up there all the time and kids go out to the point the ship used to come in and whatnot. We have no intention of gating anything. It's for the reason that when you get to the end of the county route, because of the history, like the time that the ships came in 1800s early, a lot of people believe that it's public property. That puts us out there for liabilities, puts us out there where we've been chased off our property, it's not the boat, or someone else's, or they launch boats and canoes off of our property, which is safe, it's illegal and it's unsafe. So we've got in touch with the Lake George Association over the salt. So I had a survey done, salt run, and one of the recommendations that came back was the impervious surface of the road, what could be done. I had always thought in my mind it would be nice, country road, gravel, grass and everything, just because it would give a little bit more of a, hey, people who don't know the area, who haven't grown up in Washington County, that it's a nice place to be, but it's not public land. When they said, if you did this, I was like, wow, that would all tie together, and that's what got me going down this road. We've lined our property with boulders because they turn around in the grass, they
Yeah.
property. So the salt runoff, the safety issues, my neighbors all are interested in purchasing more of the county, which we're not. There's 2 more homes that you don't see on there to the next intersection. And that's where turnarounds can happen, which can't be made with a truck. Boats and trailers and whatnot come down, summer it's just kind of a nuisance. So for safety, for the lake, and for all those other reasons, when you brought up going straight across, in our mind, that's very good. The Brown Knight driveway is approximately where the 6 in County Route 6 is there. Their house is on the right side of this, the bottom of the page picture.
We could, can you back it out here so we can show you.
So that Brown Knight property on the north side, their driveway is up further from there, right about where it says, no, to the west, yes, up. So that's their property line, and then where it says Route 6 on the road, right below that. Nope.
No.
isn't there-
It changed when you backed it out.
Yeah, right there. That was up yesterday, so that's about, if. I'm gonna go up if I could. So their driveway is right about here. So the turnarounds happen in their driveway, right against their house. I have two driveways between a barn and the Borden property and the one that goes into the barn. This one is not enough to turn around at all. This one goes into between the two homes. So if we were able to have that, the plow has plenty of room to stop, move the snow. The salt stops, the painting stops, the paving stops. So the plus for the county is there's no use for it. And the plus for us is we believe it's, safer, better for the lake, better for us.
Cause I believe, look at it a little more, if an abandonment is done. Portion of the.
Now let me have that mouse.
Basically, the portion that would be abutting the Brown Knight property, go to them. And the portion abutting the Septon property would go to them. So as I said, it's really just a question of which way is easier and which way we can file the deeds to kind of trade everything off, make sure it lines up what we have to do.
That other property that you're referring to, your neighbors, that one property, how much of that property they want is blacktop now?
So again,
The neighbors that you said were interested in doing property, if we abandoned the road further
right,
inland,
my next door neighbor, the Bordens and the Browns across the street would like to have the county route end so that they don't go straight down to the end, you would turn at another road. Well, since
what
that,
kind of distance of that is blacktop now?
it's all blacktop. The paving has stopped over, I guess, the past 4 or 5 years. And the road lines have stopped over the past 4 or 5 years. When Luke, it was 2 years, I think, before Luke retired. He came down, we talked about it, the paving gets a little wider each year, a couple inches, this and that, so that, they try to keep it away from the lake, which is more up on our property.
Well, would your neighbors be interested in doing a homeowner if we abandon that road and create a deeded right of ways to your property through that right of way, and that way, because that's what I'm kind of existing in right now, that you would have the right of way to your property, then everybody else can only go to their property off of, but it would just be for the landowners down there.
Yeah, and that problem with that is that we have 2 more neighbors that we would have to include. And I said, you guys can do that. So there's 4 other homes. That would be like your project, and this is my,
All right.
because of those, one's rented, 3 are seasoned, they're just summertime homes. We live there year round. So we get ice fishermen, we get a lot of people that park right there. We felt bad our first few years, because we would go out there and see all the guys coming out. I got to meet a lot of nice guys, but then it changed, like what had been historically. Hey, we park here, how are you gonna get to the water? I have to park my property. Where am I gonna park? So just been there since 2008. Then when the LGA said, could you move the car, I was like, maybe I could.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You'd like to move it back, or the other landowners along with you, you'd like to move it back to that, Margaret Way?
Yeah, but now Margaret Way has been purchased by the homeowners there, so that's not a county route either. So now you'd be forcing, in my mind, this is just me talking.
There would be no
You'd be
place to
forcing
turn around
people
until,
onto private roads, and that's not really a solution either.
right,
If it were ended where the gentleman suggested at the western edge of the Brown property, as you approach there are 3 turns that you would be able to make then. And on the east side of the Borden property, there was an old boat ramp, which is no longer in use because that's illegal into the lake. There's only certain places you can put your boat in, so that's gated, but it's double wide. And it's made for boats that used to back in.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
So the tractor trailers and the trucks get there, but when the homeowner guy looking for the marina gets down with his boat on the back, we're out there 20 minutes trying to help him back up to where he can turn. If that first recommendation where it came straight across, at that point, the pavement will be ended and the lines ended. We grind up everything, we put in the dirt gravel type road where stuff can grow through it, and it's pervious, so it helps the lake. They get there, right there, there's a driveway, and on my side I have two, and on the other side of the board, I have three. So thinking it out, when that recommendation came in, that's always what we had in mind. The diagonal one, and, you know, for the purposes of getting it done, we will almost do anything that you guys would like. But whichever one work better for the county.
But
So logistically, we have to have a survey, right?
Mhm.
I
So
brought an old one.
well, I'm just following, if there's other people that want to take portions of that road, would we try and do this as a one shot so that we only have to pay one surveying cost to go up there and do this?
Oh, we're not.
Pardon?
You want us to read the survey?
Oh, I don't. I'm
So
just
there
saying, do
is
it all
one
at once.
cost.
So there is one cost, and they can split it up however they want. But logistically, it'll be easier for us to get everything done. If they're doing it once instead of doing piecemeal.
I don't think the landowners are asking for a coup d'etat on the road. I mean, taking that full extent there, they
Nobody did say other landowners are interested in no
maybe,
parts of the
Yeah,
road.
but that's just.
That's their problem to survey it, not his.
Right.
yeah.
And also, I don't know if they're, you know, I wouldn't wanna wouldn't wanna set mine back, just in case. Having five homeowners, and then the deal with turning onto another private road. You'd almost be saying, county route ends here. Now they'd have to turn around without using a private road, where there is no turnaround at the McNillis home.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I totally feel your pain and you would give it to you. Have you thought ahead if the rest of the neighbors go ahead with the abandonment? You're gonna have to pay to plow back in and they're gonna say, thank you very much.
Yeah, so actually, when I first. They had, he, helped me get the big giant plow truck replaced with the little red plow truck, because the big plow truck's backing up. When we have big storms, the real big one comes down, he's back Washington County big truck, and it goes all the way back to the post office. Back. That's not good for them, but the little plow truck come down, plow, and the 1, 2 at the end, and then goes into where the boat trailer, where the boat ramp is, sits there, waits for more snow, whatever. So the little one that Dresden town does is great. I have a truck, now I live there year round, no one else is there, so I will be very interested.
Well,
in
that's
plowing
what I
myself.
meant. I mean, you're gonna take on the
Yeah.
burden of all the snow
Oh, yeah.
plowing and all the
Yeah,
neighbors are
there
gonna
could
thank
be
you
a
very much.
10 foot, yeah, there could be 10 foot by 40 feet long if I let it build up. Yeah.
Yep.
It's been that much snow at the bottom of the roof, where they've actually had it come to almost where we have to go out. Then they start piling it high, real high.
So I think we have a, couple of options here. I don't know if we have all the data, whether it's abandonment or sale. Is that correct?
I think the hope might be abandonment. We can do that. That would probably be less time consuming. But that might be again, something where we look at the rest of the neighbors. We just gotta make sure whatever we abandon the right of way when we do the deeds afterwards, that everything kind of lines up. So we are gonna need kind of a survey to figure out how we're going to run that.
So what do you need from us today?
I think initially, before Deb talked to me before the meeting, I was gonna say to do the resolution, do the auction, but now I think we just,
Motion to move forward.
Yeah.
Go move.
Second.
Second.
Second by Dave, John, Lance. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to hear from Deb that you agree with what we're doing.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we looked and looked and looked, and there's no reason for us to have any interest in this.
Dude,
It sounds like the neighbors are on agreement. They know about this.
Yeah.
And they all say, you don't mind having
No.
those, they can pull under their driveway. and
Yeah, because, so many, they actually want it further, but I see problems with doing it. I don't see it to be an easier, as easy a solution as this might be. One thing that I wanted to add was, on there, 2 properties of ours are depicted. So one large one to the left that wraps around the point and goes to the night property. That's why the road dissects that, which our home is on. And then the small rectangular piece on the end is part of the point and part of the road. And if make it easier. I don't know if it would or not, but it's fine by us. If the line was drawn across and then that remainder of that road transferred to that small parcel, that would give me only 2 tax bills, and that would never be able to be built on. But LGA's concern is 50 feet from the road. So if I added it to my property, like we did the whole bundle, then my house could expand, and we have no interest in that, but maybe, who knows what, whenever I protect the lake by having a piece attached to a small piece. And then other people would have to go through whatever, or the house could be sold without that piece. Just so that nobody does it. So that's, just want to say that.
Yes, John.
So you've got, on that picture right there, you have 3 tax maps or tax bills.
Two. One, this is where our house is. You can't see it, but this is the house right here. This is the garage, and this is the driveway, and then this goes out to the old ship dock, and this is our property. So I have a dock right here also, that people just love to go on. And this piece of property was done, we believe, from the APA in 72, 73. Prior owner's grandfather wanted to build a home in 1972. They did the 8 acres, and at whenever he went out and started pouring the concrete, and the county stopped them. They were pouring they had half of it built, which I removed from the point foundation. And another long strip, which I have on my survey. And I think that little piece of land that we pay an extra tax bill for would have been combined with a new house. Well, they stopped that house and that property. So when we bought ours, that came with it.
I think you may have the second tax bill, because
We do.
you may not be able to see it real well from this distance, but the county right away actually runs through the center of the property.
Yeah, so that's why I have 2 tax bills, I think.
And you want to combine that into one, have one bill.
Like I said, if we were able to convey the new piece and attach it to that other piece, it kind of protects the lake, nobody could build. Protects the size of our house growing, we have no.
So you're satisfied with a direct line from the Knight property straight across and attach, then convey, if that gets conveyed to you through whatever.
Right.
The end state is the same, right? So, okay, you're satisfied with that as a line that would
Yes, that would be great.
meet your,
And if you had to do the diagonal, that would be fine also, but as you said, your vote's a problem.
I think we can do diagonal. I think we have to go straight to Route 6 and then straight down and straight.
yeah,
Because the night guy owns to the center, just like Wayland owns to the center. But
right,
we're gonna look into all.
right, and looking at all that, so he's acceptable to us. Okay. Yes, Dan?
Just, get a better visual understanding, how much acreage is your property or 2 lots?
I believe it's
Right there.
0.68.
Or the little one?
I think it could combine it.
And what's the big lot then?
0.68.
Oh, points, so
Yeah,
there's, and now is the road, 4 rods or 5 rods?
It's actually 2.
2 rods?
2. We've never seen a 2 before, but we were looking into it and it's a 2 rod.
How did the county acquire the road?
Well, we can look that up too.
No, I'm not looking to make work, I'm just curious. How it acquired the road?
Maybe.
Maybe it was the right way for it.
Dogs?
It was right for that.
But all
Only way
county
for the
roads
dogs.
were purchased from
It's here.
towns, right? All county roads were purchased from towns. How did the county become a county road? They were all town roads at one time, and the county then,
Technically, probably count that.
That was where the boats used to come
yeah,
years ago, and I imagine it was a town road, picking people up, dropping people off.
Well, that's a great
Interesting.
point. You can have the road, Charlie, all the way back to where A and B are, and you can have A and B.
no, for the town.
Yeah, for
That's,
nothing.
That's not my
Nothing.
jurisdiction. That's the highway superintendent.
Nice pun.
Learn how to delegate to.
Yeah.
Follow the law.
Any other discussion on this, so Deb can move forward with it and help out the process? So,
Thank you.
and
Thank
Deb,
you.
you guys, thank you for taking the time to come down.
Vote.
Say it.
Go.
Vote.
Oh, yeah, we didn't vote on it. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
That's it. I
Any
can
other-
bring up No more others.
Other others? Okay. All right. Any questions for Deb before she skedaddles? Thank you so much. Have a great day. I've got one piece of information for the public works. I handed out. Yeah. Yeah. So we handed out this right here. This is from our executive director of our sewer district. Washington County Sewer District.
You get one?
Okay, the subject
Oh, you weren't here.
is biosolids moratorium. And what Kevin wanted to do was have explained from his standpoint the concerns about discussion from, I believe, Ag and Planning. So what I want to do is call out a couple of things. One, apparently, there is some discussion, I guess, at the state level, about regulating PFOAs and PFOSs. And down at the bottom of the page, the last paragraph up page 1, you kind of see some references to some current standards that are out there among states, ranging anywhere from 50 to 20. That seems to be kind of what other governments are looking at for numbers. Where New York settles down on, who knows, whether or not, if they do it or not. I have a tendency to believe that they will. What that number looks like, not sure. What Kevin also offers, though, is the fact that our biosolids coming out of our facility, out of the Washington County Sewer District facility, tests at 7 parts per billion. So that's kind of where we sit in terms of, is 7 acceptable? Again, I don't know. We can talk about exposure levels and how those are regulated for hours. And how that impacts, human health. I don't know. So, that's just some facts for you guys. Sir, you had a question?
You answered one of my questions already. How do we dispose of our,
Okay,
how do we dispose of our biosolids? Or our sewer district biosolids? And I think those are gonna go up with the new plan.
correct. And that's one of Kevin's significant concerns. If we move forward with a moratorium, it's gonna significantly impact his operation and significantly impact the cost of doing business for the sewer district. So just something to think about before we move forward. I think we gotta do some more facts, get some more facts, do a little more research and put some more thought behind it before we just slap on a moratorium. If that makes sense. I guess sir,
I didn't answer my question. How do we dispose of ours?
Oh, today? A couple of different ways. I don't have all the details. I know one is, we sell it, right? And it's distributed to farmers, so they use it.
Generally speaking, it's composted.
Yeah.
You know how often you're required to test with PFAS?
I do not. Kevin's not feeling well today, so he couldn't make it.
Memo also said that if we did do the compost, we'd have to increase our budget because they'd have to haul it somewhere to have it. It'd be landfill incinerated. Or it's in that letter that he gave us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot there to read. But I wanted to put this out on the committee so that you had a little bit more information on the topic from the sewer district's perspective. And then we could kind of think about it, but I would just ask that we, maybe take our time and work through this problem set before we leap to a decision and put something on in effect that may negatively impact a lot of people. Yes, sir.
Yes, since I was chairman of the committee that came out of, Dan, you were there. What did we actually, that motion do? Did we move it forward for further discussion or did? how did we
There
get-
was, as I recall it. There was a motion to go forward. And I don't know if it was quite subject to, we had, I know I raised that we had to hear from the sewer district. The way I guess I'm interpreting things right now was that I was directed to write a local law establishing.
Establishing a moratorium.
Right, now, I guess, and since we have the vast majority of the board here, I can ask, if it's the general feeling of, I've been directed to do it, when I do, it's another question. I know there was initially some discussion, would I be able to have it ready for the November meeting, to set a public hearing, and then be voted on in December. What I don't want to do, as hasn't been a properly noticed meeting, is have any members of the Ag and Planning Committee even tell me you changed our mind. Can't do that without having a properly noticed meeting. But if it's the sense of the board that I not have it ready for, I'm still under direction to do it, but not necessarily have it ready for the November meeting pending further discussions by this committee and your committee. That's okay. What I don't want to do is have two conflicting directions from two different committees, and I don't want to divide a committee of the board.
But part of your ability to write the local law is have the information you need to write that local law.
That's true, because it's different. This has a big impact on it.
Correct.
Kind of starting to try to write it, taking this into account. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit of a difficult thing.
I think this information helps you understand what information you have to gather, so you couldn't write it until you have the information.
Right, so I guess, but I'm just kind of asking, since the board, I don't have to have this ready for the November meeting. I may have to have it ready for December. What I'm basically asking, if I'm directed to do something by committee, I take it that I have to have it ready for the next board meeting.
I wouldn't do another thing until the state comes out with their findings. That's what they're asking us to do right at the very last paragraph.
Right, well, I mean, states had legislation pending, it did, as we heard last time, it passed the Senate, didn't pass the Assembly. We may very well get preempted on this at some point, but I don't know when that's going to
Yeah, you have enough work on it. Like, Dan, I don't think you do anything with this state issues or guidelines.
Yeah, I agree with Dana. I mean, I think we're shooting into the dark on, we don't even know what the target is. Moratorium is, we have a significant, to me, I would go for a moratorium if we had a significant health concern and we needed to hit the brakes on it and evaluate the health concern. I don't see that right now.
1.07, whatever it is on there. I think
Yeah.
we're not in a great place, but we're in a place where at least we can afford to look for the additional information before we board on anything.
Yes, sir.
Going to Ron's point, when he did his presentation, I come from reading on this, in Texas, they're having a huge problem with these chemicals in the ground. And being a rural agricultural county with some beautiful farmland, I think we have to use due caution, either doing something or not doing something moving forward. Because once that stuff gets in the ground, that ground is forever gone. And I think anything we can do to prevent farmer from utilizing a free fertilizer to help their fields, because everybody knows fertilizer costs so much. And anything they can do to augment their fields, if they do it unknowingly, I think, we're gonna suffer for it.
Scott?
There's a possibility to just have a moratorium on solids coming into the county. Like, you don't allow anybody to truck their solids into our county, dump on our land, leave our, for the time being, we leave our sewer district full.
I could, but if I'm reading this, I guess my first question is. They're getting a good chunk of this from, I think, wastewater treatment in Lake George. I'm not sure if that's on the Washington County side or the Warren County.
In the city of West Falls.
I think the city of Glens Falls sends stuff over as well, because it's. County.
Or, not contiguous county.
Yeah, question? I don't know.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I know from a town perspective, we're gonna continue to move on with Exit 48, and that's what we continue moving. You know, that anything's gonna be done at the county level because of other information in the surface. But we're still gonna do it because we still have to protect all the things we have there. We have a lot of farmlands that, the water runs off on, stuff runs off on. It's carried from vehicles, once it's spread down to highways and everything to other streams, not people's lawns and all over the place. So from our perspective, we're still gonna move on to the town. And I want to do it.
Yes, sir, gentlemen from the audience.
In addition to Lake George that sends sewage to our treatment area, composting, you also have a pharmaceutical company where I saw that volume, I think it is, Bird sends pharmaceutical stuff there. And you know, one thing to add to all this, the method in which the leachate stuff that comes out of there has to be, I'm not sure the testing, it's not only the compost, but it's the leachate that comes out of the sewer process, affecting the water and everything else that's done. That pre-treatment is the best possible and affordable. I mean, there's many different ways in which to address that leachate coming out of the village. But there certainly has to be explored and make sure we take the best reverse osmosis is used and a number of other things. But there's plenty of things else that's done and other things that are done. You just have to be assured that what comes out of the wastewater treatment plant are within at least the current standards. And I'm not sure what's 0.7 or whatever they just spoke of. If that's being, how often is that done? It depends on where it's coming from, dictates the degree of toxicity that comes out of that stuff. As has been voiced here several times, the issue is, I mean, I think a lot of this is based on economics, but at the end of the day, it's going to be because of the health and safety of the residents of the county. And I think tourism and farmland and our food supply is certainly an important factor here. So there has to be steps taken. I'm not going to say there's a no law, but certainly they need to be looked at. I'd like to see a little further consideration of his response here.
Ron, have you spoken to Kevin Gorman yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. A month ago, I asked you to come off, and then appoint to answer your question, and I still haven't done that.
I will.
Okay. Because I don't think that pharmaceutical thing is actually still occurring. I believe that was in the permit. You were at our town meeting with our town council who serves on the committee, board of commissioners told us he doesn't think they're doing that.
Well,
That was in the original permit. That's why I said, reach out to Kevin, get some questions answered. Still haven't done that.
Well, certainly do that.
All right.
And
Yeah.
That company may have been sold. I'm not sure if it's not sending stuff up there, but I'll find out.
Kevin will be able to answer that for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you a question? Sure. Part of that. The testing that's done, I mean, as I said to the Ag Committee, is it possible to get a sample of the compost and stuff that come out of there? And really, but I spoke of the town of Thurston and other places. There were tests done of water sources and all the other stuff that was provided by Sierra Club and other places that do that on a regular basis and very thoroughly.
Yeah, back to
Is that
Supervisor.
okay to initiate?
Well, so back to Supervisor Hogan's point, if you talk to Mr. Gorman, who's the executive director of the sewer district, I'm sure it's well within his authority to work on that for you.
Okay, all right. I just didn't
Do
know
that. I don't think you need this body to okay a sample of compost that goes out to the public. If you want to get a sample, I'm sure he'll let you get one.
Go buy a load.
Yeah. Probably buy a whole load.
Put it on
Yes,
to-
Dan.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that, this came out of my committee. And at that time, I made it very clear, asking Dan if he could have this prepared for the November meeting, and he said that it would be very difficult for him. So the committee, when we made this motion, we did not stipulate it had to be by November. So,
I just want to be clear. 'Cause
yeah, well, I
I'm
know,
not-
and it's in the minutes, because I specifically asked him that, so I would say there is no issue if this isn't ready for December.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to echo Dana's comment and appreciate it if you would have your conversations with Kevin Gorman and the sewer district before you come back again. Because otherwise we're going in a circle. You're asking us stuff that he can answer for you. So before you come back, you have that meeting with him.
Hopefully catch him.
Unfortunately, he's not feeling well, so he's at home. All right, any other discussion on this? So some information, hopefully make a better informed decision. It's an important decision, so we gotta get it right. But I just wanna do that. And then on the agenda, any other business that the committee would like to address? Hearing none. We are adjourned, public works, moving to public safety.
Taking action on the second. Haynes, motions or second by Daryl, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just realized.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna vote.
You didn't see me right away.
All right. Corners are up first.
How are you today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Several waivers, huh?
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and. Oh.
The toxicology lab service. NIMS is really the only game in town, is the only place that we can actually have labs sent to.
Right.
So, because of that, we would need a waiver to use them.
Motion for the waiver.
Second. Motion, the second, any questions, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Second one is morgue services. Currently, we use Glens Falls Hospital. It's close. It's close to us.
Oh, close. I thought you said closed. I was like,
Close.
holy smokes.
Saratoga won't take any of our cases, and Albany's too expensive.
Yeah,
So, and it worked well for Doc to come to Glens Falls, and it's been a good partnership.
one with Cal, second it.
Motion by Dan, second by Daryl. Questions?
Is there an option like a mortuary inside of Washington County that could be utilized as a morgue?
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The last one is the coroner's physician services. For the last 2 years, Dr. Crossman worked at Glens Falls Hospital. He retired. Dr. Gallagher was with Glens Falls Hospital, went to Hudson Headwaters. And he was the deputy physician when Dr. Crossman was here. when Dr. Gallagher went to Hudson Headwater years ago, we switched with them. They're excellent to work with. He's excellent to work with. I know anytime I call him, he's right on the phone with me going through records. And I believe the other coroners find him the same way, very helpful. And it's a good partnership with him. A lot of cases get signed out without having to send them for an autopsy because of him. And that's a good thing.
Their motion,
I'll make that motion.
made by Daryl, second by King. Any more discussion on it?
Well, just as a point, I mean, this is a unique service we're talking about here as well.
Right,
correct?
yeah, so if we get a death call at a residence. And we call the family doctor, or for whatever reason, the family doctor doesn't want to sign the death certificate, or says, I haven't seen this person and don't want to sign the death certificate. We can call Dr. Gallagher, and a coroner's physician can only sign with a coroner by law. So police can't call the coroner physician and ask him to sign. Only the coroner can sign with the coroner's physician by law. So we call him and give him the circumstances. He'll look up the medical records and say, well, hasn't seen the local his own doctor in a while, but it's obvious the person had a heart attack. I'm willing to sign with him. So, if he doesn't, then the next step is an autopsy, and we try to avoid that if we can.
Which is
But-
cost the county bears.
Right. The other good thing is, even in a case that we know we're sending for an autopsy, he's a good resource to call, because he can get into the medical records. When I call the pathologist, I can say, well, I already know he's got this, this, and this, but that's not related to the death. Especially with automobile accidents, but at least we get a medical history from him. He's real good at getting back to us right away.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything else?
No, does anybody have any questions for us?
Okay,
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready? Morning.
I just have two update items. One is that we have received our 3-year certification as the certified pretrial services from the Office of Court Administration at a level 3, which is an extended certification, which should last for 3 years. And that was part of the bail reform legislation. So it's CPL 51045. So with that, we just have to submit an application to the Office of Court Administration every 3 years to be recertified. It means nothing. It means nothing other than we follow the standards set out by pretrial services, and the information is also tied to DCJS. So that's where some of our pretrial funding comes for funding. So, and then the other item is we got notice that the application for our 13A funding, which is a small pot of money from DCJS of 26,370. So we just received notice that we should be receiving it sometime in the fall. It's funding that we've received for several years, and it's tied to the 13A legislation 500 fee with housing for the sheriff's department. And we should be getting those dollars. We have yet to get them, however, so, but it is in our budget and was accepted fund.
What does it do? A little more explanation.
So we use the $26,000 to offset costs for our pretrial program and for our drug and alcohol services program, which performs the evaluations. And it was tied to the housing population of the jail, that we have services that will identify people that have a substance abuse issue and then get their services as needed. So we just offset our expenses with these dollars, some of these dollars. Any questions on either of those two items?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John's got lots of pride in this. Are those your logos?
What's that?
Did you pay that much money for those logos?
No, this isn't, this is.
So a little bit of a change to the agenda. I didn't get quite as far as I wanted to on the fee schedule, so instead of presenting some pieces, I'm going to file it. So, but two other things did come up. Solar farms, New York State, the code books, Department of State, they've come back and said that we don't have any jurisdiction over them. However, I'm wondering if there would be any interest in possibly passing a resolution to start having the authority over those under that resolution. We can have more restrictive requirements. We can't have less restrictive requirements. So we can, my understanding, we could pass a resolution saying, okay, now you do have the authority under the local law. And we would start doing inspections and permitting for those.
Let me just end on that. I also had the discussion with John. We had I had a person contact me that does work in other counties and other towns outside of Washington County. And their code departments permit solar farms, and they charge anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000 a megawatt for a permit. So on these bigger solar farms, that would be some substantial income coming in. Yeah.
We charge a $15,000 flat fee.
At the town. Yeah.
That's just to get a permit though. I think for a code, pass code, that'd be a different
Maybe
situation.
a different one over the top of it, yeah.
That'd be for county. that
So
wouldn't
that's
be
why
for
John
town.
has brought this resolution. Or asking for this resolution that, we're maybe missing out on a little bit of what little control we might have on their development and some income.
We used to do it before the state told us. They basically made a decision and said, okay, no, you can't do it. But we used to do it before you, so we're familiar with how to do it. So it wouldn't be that big of a deal to start doing it.
Well,
Okay,
there's a threshold of scale though, right? You're still responsible for the small.
yeah, I'm talking to farms.
Yes.
The commercial.
If it's not associated with a specific building, that's what the state determined. If that's a specific building that falls outside of our.
I
And
got John.
under state law, we're allowed to do this.
I'd have to look. As other jurisdictions go, we'd have to pass them law and ensure resolutions. So.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna put those two together.
Okay. We sat through the floodplain education downstairs. I asked the question. Who is in charge of inspecting these solar fields that may be put in floodplain? And nobody ever answered me. So are they gonna be allowed to go in floodplain, or are they gonna be, how? I believe the state doesn't even control, how are they gonna be built in a floodplain to counteract floods?
Dave, you had a
So-
question?
Remember back my 98 days, that you better check with the state, because I think that 25 and above are governed by the state, and the county can't have any say into it.
They can be, they're not obligated to.
But 20 and below,
They will be.
20, 25 and below, 25 was optional, and below 20 was sort of county town responsibility. But I want to check that law pretty quickly.
I also believe, Dave, that any of the big ones that come under Oris, there's supposed to be 2 local representatives on that decision board. And I've yet to see any be asked to be on the decision board. I think I looked that up, I was looking up Morris, so.
Were you talking megawatts? 25 megawatts?
Yeah. But if this is being done already in other counties, towns, maybe we ought to be talking to them too. I believe Saratoga County is one, and I can get some town names for you.
Yeah.
I'm not against doing it, I just wanna make sure that we are doing it right.
I did speak with I didn't speak it with anybody at the county level, or I didn't find it anyway, information at the county level. But we had multiple towns that were doing it, one city was doing it. But I didn't find anything, I didn't find any county that was doing it. That was my understanding before, is that it would be left to the towns, or the villages, or cities, whatever. But if there's a possibility that we could do it as a county, because again, you could pass more restrictive requirements. If this would fall under that, and if there was a appetite for us to do that.
I know what Dan's gonna bring up, but since you do it for the towns, then that would, if the towns passed it, you would have to be doing it anyways, right, Dan? Go ahead.
No, I'll let you speak for me. No, I brought this up 2 years ago, and Roger sat there and talked the board out of taking this action that should have been taken. You just heard the numbers. 25,000 on the low end. And 100,000 on the average size for what the permit would be that you're letting go from revenue stream. So the 25 megawatt, we passed a law in our town, our new ordinance on solar. And anything of that 25 megawatt, the state takes over, does not impact what code enforcement is involved in. And if we pass a resolution that adopts code enforcement to involve this, whatever language you want, we did it in our town. That does not supersede what the state is gonna do. That's not permitting whether or not to have one and how it's gonna be built. Code enforcement is to enforce the requirements the county is putting on for safety reasons, in which we can add anything we want to it, and they can't supersede that. So, I mean, we should be doing this the same thing for cell tower. Otherwise, the assessors do not know when you upgrade a cell tower, they don't get that information. If this company that adds another antenna out there has filed the permits, that it's all part of the whole program. You should be doing this, and since you have county code enforcement, it's crazy because we get 8,000 to 10,000 per permit to touch a cell tower. To modify it, I mean, and you're $625,000 short on code enforcement in Washington County that you're levying onto the taxpayer, which I'm one that shouldn't be getting it levied on. And we'll get it, there we go.
You circled back around. You got it.
So in the town of Easton, how do you guys charge for that? The only thing I found
How
was,
much a megawatt?
the only thing I found was $500 minimum.
Yeah, and then
I reached out to Jim, but I hadn't heard back. It was just yesterday or the day before.
we have just updated it, months ago on what the fees are. And I really don't want to say because I forgot the number. We did a whole bunch of upgrades. And I'm not sure what we did on this.
But it's so much. of
But
a-
it's in our solar ordinance too, that we.
And what have you guys had size wise down there? Because you had mentioned 20 to 25, when we were doing this before, I don't know what's happened since, but when we were doing this before, we would have like 2 to 3 megawatts was what was coming in. So
What we did is strictly commercial. We stayed right away from residential.
Right,
So,
but like what sizes have you had? How many megawatts have you guys had?
well, see, there's where it varies. If you take like Fort Miller that has a solar array on their buildings, if it stays within Fort Miller, it's not commercial. They're not selling. So we don't look at that. It's only if they're building an array that's gonna be sold to an outside source, that it becomes commercial.
But you wanna know how large are the ones they had in Easton that are commercial?
Correct. 20 megawatts.
That's all that one is, it's just all.
And we've got 2 of those in town. So in each one is 20.
Tim's not here, viewer, that Borlex project in Argyle and Hartford. Did Oris run that one, or did you guys run that?
No, we did, Oris.
Oris ran that whole thing?
But they could still, have township could have charged or a county could have charged the building.
What's the size?
Station.
So the one in
The one up near Peckham,
Stone Crusher, yeah.
I believe it's 15 megawatts. Yeah,
And I
three,
think-
3 separate fields of 5 megawatts each.
Right, and I think that's like how Hebron is, say, it's 20, but they'll break it into fives, there's 5 left.
We also have 7 megawatt and that one that are commercial and they changed the charge for.
So I don't think we're ready with an exact resolution because we have to check some things out. But I would like a motion to move forward to hook into that.
I'll make a motion into
Motion by Daryl, second by Dana. Any other discussion on it?
charging a permit fee for commercial solar projects in the county.
Well, it'd be, the way it would be worded is, solar farm, because you can have,
Commercial solar.
you can have, like some, car dealer or something wants to put some on there, that, we already handle that part. This would be a solar farm,
I got you.
where it's basically
Well,
fed in.
it's how you define commercial,
Yeah.
right? So if the intent for commercial is if that is to sell, then that
That's how
would
we
be,
kind of-
so that's why, back to Dan's point. If you define commercial as any project that sells electricity to the grid. Then the county can require fee for permit.
Yeah,
No. I think we're the same as Hartford. We have in our law for a permit, we have the permit fee. We've got, I think, 10,000, you've got 15, right? This will be different on the county level, correct?
It'd be on top of it. Yep.
On top, okay. Had that one interfered, the school would not be interfere with each other.
yeah, I think we have the same thing.
Yeah. Other than those two.
Dana, you had a question.
Yeah, in the future, if we're talking about these, we can call them commercial solar, right? They're not
Right,
farms,
they're not
there's no
farms.
agricultural purpose.
They're gonna, thank you.
That was not the solar company that created it, passed it off.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the way they refer to them in the letter that they sent out.
Just when we're making this, should we consider net metering? Because that is selling power back to so if they produce more than they use.
I don't know if we
Then the
you wanna
power
get
company
into the
buys-
weeds though on somebody that's trying to produce their own and they've got a little extra going
Like
back
a
on.
homeowner and a farm.
Oh, I don't want, I'm just thinking about commercially, I don't know.
Well, that's what some of those do though. They make more than what they're using, a little bit goes back on, which they don't get paid, by the way. Yeah,
Should, in the wording of that, should we put something as battery? Include battery in this? Yeah,
Renewable energy.
Well, batteries is people.
They call it that's.
I've been a pro.
We call it green. energy.
so you wanna include battery storages,
Yeah.
if they're a standalone also in this, okay?
Oh, as opposed to selling it to the bridge.
Well, no, there's standalone battery storages being
Mhm.
mentioned out there.
Yeah,
This is-
when it's, yeah.
And,
I
and
feel
whether you
bad.
guys probably don't get the permit though or aren't, so we have to include those.
Yep.
I had Dave and I
Can I
got
amend-
Dan.
Can I amend my motion to include that?
So clarification. Towns that use the county sets a fee schedule, the town doesn't set the fee schedule. The towns that have their own code enforcement, they set the fees. The county doesn't, correct? Because you would be, John, would you be doing code enforcement on those towns that have their own code enforcement?
This would be only the towns that have given us the responsibility.
Okay, so there's not, Someone said there's a duplicate fee, but there's not, there's just one fee.
Well, like
Each
Easton,
comes from the town.
like Easton does their own, so we wouldn't have any fee on top of theirs, but we cover for Hartford. So Hartford would still get their amount and we would be on top of that.
But can I clarify?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, example, Putnam has local ordinance. The Putnam Planning Board will receive the briefing, and they have to pay the town of Putnam a permit fee to get a permit from the planning board. It has nothing to do with code. It has to do with the permit.
The site plan.
Site plan.
Site plan.
Yep.
That's what these all are.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, and the county can charge a permit fee as well.
I think the way it's being said, it was
Right.
merged into together, but it's not.
That was the only point I wanted to make of the, I don't know, however Dan has to word it. Gotta deal with just the code enforcement within the towns that you will take versus the towns that have their own.
Versus everybody.
Right, but I'd like to stay away from the word code enforcement because we know that the state has jurisdiction over.
Well,
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I-
Still a great enforcement.
It is. We're talking about permitting. We're talking about permitting, not,
Well, the code has to make sure it's safe.
that's,
Right.
so you're gonna charge a permit fee.
We generally, well,
Just-
it may depend on who's doing the code enforcement, because generally speaking, the counties don't issue building or something.
Right.
Permit fees are charged by the local government.
Right, so is the state coming to you to inspect certain aspects of these solar arrays that go in?
They're saying that we don't have authority over it. So it would be whatever is passed as the local law that we could write that.
Right, so,
However,
yeah, I know, I think we're combining things here, but, yeah,
Not gonna, we do a local law for this.
yeah. You have to do a local law first, so you can actually have the authority to permit, right?
But at the moment, we've got a resolution, just move forward and try to
Correct.
get everything.
Correct, thank you.
So you have a question?
The permitting process is only for the first owner. If it should change ownership, as they frequently do with the permit, go to the second owner, third owner, the fourth owner.
it goes with the property.
Attached to the deed.
It goes with the property.
So they'll each, if they're with, oh, back the homes, these solar farms, because they change all the time.
It wouldn't be a renewing fee. Or it's like if you build a house, pay the fee once, and then that certificate goes with the house, whoever owns it. So, well, that's what I'm.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was the short one.
That was the short one.
Hold off on the other one.
No, that was good.
Which was the next one?
Septics.
Oh. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, folks. You wanna have somebody else go ahead of me? Then save it for the end or?
No, because we're gonna have a lot of discussion on the other one.
Rip it off like a band-aid. Let's rip it off. Here we go. So, the way, I gave you a little history, how we have done, sewage disposal systems in the past. Starting back in 1989, that's, when permits were required for it. They have to meet New York State Department of Health requirements. It's in our local law, it's in the state law now, and, Department of State and Department of Health. So there are certain requirements that have to be met. When those can't be met, in the past, what we were doing, was the administrator would basically review it and sign off on whatever waivers were being requested. Okay, so like say it's supposed to be 100 feet off of Lake George, and they're proposing 75 feet, and we approve that. After digging into that further, right. Yeah.
You mean the engineers?
Finding a line, what's reading?
Correct. John, you meant the engineers, not the administrator, signing off on it?
No, the engineers would submit a waiver
Yeah, there you go.
request. The code administrator would review it and sign off on it. after looking into it, when I got the position, I found out that that's not what we're supposed to be doing. According to Department of Health, we can't do that. So, what it's supposed,
Bunch of illegal stuff out.
what's up?
So you had me doing a bunch of illegal stuff out of it, what you tell me?
I wasn't the administrator
Your
then.
advice.
I couldn't tell you what. I still can't. So there's basically two options. Department of Health can sign off on it, which they go to the Glens Falls office. They can sign off on it, or they can say, no, you gotta do this, whatever. Or there's a provision in there for a local health department. So that would be like a health board. Basically, I want to know if you guys want us to look into what that would all involve. You know, like who would have to be involved in it, you know. The health professionals, engineer, whatever, you know, this is the list of positions that would have to be represented. What we're doing now is I was basically pulling out my hair, trying to get the Glens Falls office to go through all of that. They don't want to do it, even though it's their own law. And it was putting major delays on things. New construction, replacement systems for old houses. So basically what we were doing is we still did our review. It said these are the items that don't meet the codes. We'd send that out to everybody involved, the contractor, the engineer, the homeowner. So everybody was on the same page, and then we would basically wait to see if the engineer wanted to change anything, or if they said, no, I'm still sticking by my design. That kind of sort of puts the liability back on them. But now that we've been doing that for a little bit, we're seeing some engineers out there that are real, I mean, they're presenting stuff. They're presenting stuff. I have one here with, I think it was 28 things that don't meet codes. So if we want to keep going that route, can I get something in writing from all of you saying that's what we're doing? And if that's not what we want to do, the next option is, do we do a Board of Health? Which is my recommendation.
Local town boards are about communities.
Queensbury, they do.
But
But I
do as well, we do as well. I thought it's the state law, yeah.
It could be, and that would be
Town
me
boards
looking
are
into it.
now, yeah, instead of having a department of health. So couldn't it be just a recommendation to that respective town? Take it back to your town board for approval.
Does everybody handle that way for, as a Board of Health?
I think you have an option.
Yeah, you
Say
don't.
no, I don't think you, I think it's
Default.
state law, I think it's a town health board.
I think there's a health officer in every town, they're supposed
I think it's your town board.
yeah.
You have a choice. You can appoint health officers in the organizational meeting, and if you choose not to, the town board becomes the Board of Health.
We should send it back to the respective town for their approval.
And since the impact is directly to that town, I think it's a wonderful idea. The town board is the Board of Health and signs off in that town.
Even better.
And they answer, you know, to the public. So I think that's an excellent approach. And better than that, it will add no more cost to the county budget.
But I do think though that before a town board makes a decision, they need to have the code officer there to explain what the violations are and how serious they may or may not be. I mean, we just can't blindly make decisions.
Yeah, or a written explanation like we provide with planning board, we all, planning boards, what's that standard if that the planning board, the county gives every time it's a little review? No, matter of local.
Matter of local.
Cause yeah, if we have to go to those, it would be a cost to the county, because it would be overtime. For going.
It's still gonna take a little bit of cost to take the time to write up the explanation of the violations of that you found in the plan.
As part of the review, the way that our officer handles it now, He basically goes down through all the requirements and says, yes, it meets this, yes, it meets this, no, it doesn't meet that. So he provides a list. These are the things that don't meet the requirements.
Right.
And so that would be what we would send back saying, these
Yeah,
don't
but-
meet it. Do you folks wanna
But
wait?
it can't be a no with no explanation. I guess it has to be a no with some qualifiers that would inform the jurisdictional body that we're sending it back to. You know, here's some of the details behind that no. You know, what part of that, so that they can at least have a start point.
John?
I don't even know where to start here. But. Okay, town boards of health. We have an issue. The issue has been ignored by the county sewer district or county code is put into the town's board's health issues. Where does the town board go on the step that that's illegal?
Basically, the law says that the local health department, or on board in this case, can issue a waiver on those things.
Well, what if it's an outright?
Well, like one example he was just giving, John, say on Lake George, 75 foot's closest you can be with a leach field. And the engineer and the homeowner, they just can't do it, whatever, so they wanna make it 45 foot from the lake. Then the town that's in is gonna say, okay, we'll take the chance that it won't pollute the lake, you can go ahead, or we'll say, nope, you figure it out, put it in a tank or whatever you gotta do.
Okay, so that's for permitting, not for existing problems. But the town board is the health.
The town board's the board of health.
I understand. Nancy?
So I guess to take John's question, I have a second question now. Take John's one step further. So you tell them no and they do it anyway. What do we do? Where do you go next? You call the state police to say, hey, they're breaking the law. We told them no, and they go, oh, that's not our department, call somebody else.
The state police, their quote is,
So-
where's code enforcement? Where's the health department? That was a quote from the state police.
So there's that question. Nobody really has an answer for, but my second question is, if you're not gonna send, so your idea of sending it back to the town board because there's delays and inefficiencies with trying to help out Queensberry. And if you're not gonna send a code enforcement to the board, I can see it comes into my board meeting, I present it, and they have a billion questions, and they go, well, we can't make a decision on this until we have more answers, so now you're another month out. So even though it is gonna end up being a cost to the county, I don't know how a town board can necessarily make the decision we want without somebody there to explain why. We're not trained for it, we don't have the knowledge for it, so I don't think, I mean, I think the town boards can handle that, but we still need to have somebody there to explain to us why, because the piece of paper and even a note is gonna make us ask questions that none of us are gonna have answers to, so I think we're probably still gonna have the code enforcement officer there.
Just a minute, David, back to Cassie's first thing. What do you do, John, if all of a sudden you show up and they just went ahead and did it, whether the town approves it or disapproves it, or you guys disapprove it? What do you do in those situations?
I can tell you what we want to do, but it's not really working currently. It would be issuing them a violation for building without a permit or not meeting whatever it was that supposed to meet. And then it would report. And Dan and I have been working on that for months now, trying to figure out how to get that to go through. Straight up with you, it's a matter of having the personnel right now.
I mean, because if the town does say no, it kind of goes back to where it goes back to your seat that it's not gonna happen then, so the engineer needs to come up with something new.
So like what we do right now for the building side of things, there's the LRCC one that folks are most likely familiar with. where the town is viewing the project, like say it's a new house, viewing the project, saying, are there any local laws at the town level or the village level that have to be met in addition to what we do at the county, okay? So once whoever you've designated to review that at the local levels signs that, then we continue through and eventually issue the permit. So maybe with something like this, it would be, it comes into us because there's no LRCC one local regulation compliance certificate. That doesn't exist for septics. So maybe what we would do is we keep doing what we've been doing as far as the reviews, and then if there's something that doesn't meet the requirements, we send it back to you guys, if that's how we're doing it. And then you'd have to basically sign off form saying, you know, this is what we're requiring, and then we would make sure that that's done. If they don't do that, then we're back to basically building without a permit or issuing whatever violation fee to try to get them to comply through the court system.
Dave, did you still have a question?
I still had a question. I thought John was gonna reference our wonderful neighbors in Whitehall and Hampton. On what we do with them when we're building our houses.
Our houses are legal by the state.
Yes.
It sort of seems to me like this is an all or nothing sort of thing, because if it came from John saying, we think there's 6 violations in this, do you want to issue an exemption from the town? If the answer was no, then the supervisor would not sign the LLRC one, so it wouldn't be a permit issue. So then if they then go ahead and build it, then it is definitely building without permit. Right, I mean, this is not halfway through the thing, you get a thing saying evaluate this and go back to tip, and this is
Right.
at the original application.
And maybe it would be better to do it at the county level as far as the board. Cause then, you know, you're talking one night a month. As far as somebody from the code office showing up as opposed to 17 nights a month, 17 towns and villages.
This happened that often, yeah.
All the time. Not the 28, that's a bit of.
We have 17 meetings a month.
No, I'm saying if it was the town boards.
Well, Dan's gonna give you a solution to that one.
You
So,
have to go to 16.
so if it was,
Can you answer that question? How many violations do you deal with a month or a year?
violations,
Well, not violation, issues like this where if it had to be sent to the town's board of health or some higher power, where you're finding that you're not following your requirements and you're looking, that's what you're trying to do, is looking to correct an issue that you have found within your system.
I would say. How many applications do we get in where they actually meet all the requirements? Percentage wise. I would say maybe 40% that actually meets all the requirements.
40% of all your
Guessing.
that would have to go back if you had the board of health.
That wouldn't have to go back.
40%.
60% would have to go back.
But 60% would.
Which is why we started doing what we're doing, because they were going back to DOH and it wasn't getting done.
This is just for the sewer.
Septic.
Septic.
Yes, so,
Okay.
Are these new builds or?
everything new or replacement.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, if it's a new build, the answer is no. If it's a replacement, then we have to really kind of think, because here's a home that's had
Yes.
a system, it's been a viable home for, I don't know, let's say 150 years. And the codes have changed, and now perhaps the property won't support a standard, tank and windshield or.
Yeah, but if it supported it before, just because the law changed, it means that can't support it anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't see him.
But the Board of Health, so that would go back to the town to say, are you willing to reevaluate this and allow them to do it, even though it's not meeting the current standards?
And I'm not looking for a specific answer today. I just want to get the conversation going, let you
Oh, you
guys.
gotta go
you
on.
know, What you thinking?
In our town, and I suspect in many of your towns, we have, buildings where they want to add an apartment or two.
Yes.
And that, of course, triggers how big is the septic system and so on and so forth.
Who'd have to be on this board if you did it at the county level? You have to have paid members or would they be volunteers?
The only place that I found, and it's just because I just started looking at that, this was basically, do you want me to look into this kind of stuff? I found one, I think it was Suffolk County, where they were all volunteers, held out, they're volunteers. It was like a certain number of doctors or healthcare professionals. There was an attorney on there. But I could find out more. Maybe if the town board counts, would the county board count?
I mean, the county planning board.
Whoever, no, okay, there you go. County planning. So,
For Salem, this is a hot topic. Maybe because we've had a lot of real estate that's sold, they buy it, and then they find out that, you know, the septic system isn't compatible with what they purchased. Or property values have gone down by $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Because the septic system fails, and there's no way to replace it because the lot's too small. So then people buy it with cash and live with it. And that's happening all the time. And I'm sure John's starting to feel that. So those new people are gonna come to your town board and say, just bought it, Sam, this is great, or septic, failed. Now do we? So,
what
John,
DOH, Glens Falls DOH has said is, if it's a new system or they're adding bedrooms, they're not issuing any waivers like one of you said, yeah. So that could be just, that's what it is, period. We get anything, we send it back at that level, we send it back and you say, no, none of the towns are going to approve this, so you gotta figure it out. So that would cut down the number that would go to you guys. Because it would basically just go back to replacement system, things like that. And DOH will has issued waivers for those because they don't want to be kicking people out of their houses because they built that 60 years ago before there were requirements. They're more apt to issue a waiver on that. I guess I'm trying to figure out who's making those decisions because pushing it back on the engineers. And I had a person call me yesterday. They said, you're making us sign a form that says it applies or all the applicable codes have been taken into account. Well, that form, that verbiage is the exact verbiage that the state has for them saying, if you are stamping something, this is what it means. So I'm saying, so if it doesn't meet it, why are you stamping it? That's what your stamp means according to DOS. Department of Labor. He said, well, you know, some systems can't. I said, I understand that. So go to DOH and get a waiver and then send it to us. Right. Basically trying to figure out how to handle it because there's no nice neat thing that's working.
Answer your question, County Board of Health would require one member of the Board of Supervisors, at least one physician, and two of whom shall be a physician, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, or any combination thereof, and have at least 7 members.
That would be a once a month kind of thing. Then all of them. You don't get volunteers, you gotta pay.
As long as you're doing the research, can you also research into if we can have a separate fine system for this? Because in reality, I think some of our permit violation fines can be looked at across the board business. I think they just roll over it. I think this one should be significantly higher, so it drives a big campaign if somebody wants to violate it. I don't
I'm
know
fine
if you
with that.
can do that. You can separate it from other permit violations, but I
Yeah,
think
but-
sometimes those violations need to hurt a little bit more, because otherwise they're just considered cost of doing business. Times $300 for my fine. Go ahead and let me on.
That would bounce back up to you guys to set the fee, but we could, assume we could have a separate septic violation.
That's public health concern, or some of the other.
Building a shed.
So as it stands right now, if it has any violations for a septic, it's sent back to the homeowner or contractor, and they take it to the Department of Health. And the Department of Health doesn't want to do this?
The way it's going right now, we send it back to the engineer. Well, everybody, we email it to everybody, all the parties involved, so everybody knows what's going. But it's the engineer that would either redesign it to meet stuff, or they could say, I still think that with the conditions that are there, this is best for public health. Or they can go to DOH and get a exception or a variance or a waiver, but DOH is not wanting to do that.
So why are we allowing the state's laziness cost us time and money is my question.
Great question. Yeah, very good question.
It's their law, their rules. They don't want to do their job, but now we have to create something to let them out of getting their job. I don't agree with that at all. I think we let the engineers, the lawyers, whatever, for the homeowner fight it out with the Department of Health. And we can be hands on.
I'm kind of getting the feeling, John, that trying to wrap this up so we move on. Committee, and speak up if I'm wrong, the committee feels if it's new construction or adding on significant, bedrooms and things like that, then it better meet it. And if it's an old home that has some other issues, the engineer can redesign it. You guys can say, go see Department of Health or whatever, rather than throwing it back on us to do the work. Is that kind of what the committee feels?
Well said, Ted.
Yes. That's what we did when we first found out that we weren't supposed to be issuing any of those waivers. I just want to let everybody know it's going to
The
create.
homeowner's gonna have to know that. The engineer better tell the homeowner, the construction guy.
All right, that's fine.
There's a Department of Health and Board of Town Board.
No, the
State
Department of Health up in
Glens
Glens
Falls.
Falls.
Okay.
That's their job. And it's their liability.
It's their law.
If we as towns start letting stuff slide through, we could get trouble by things happening down the road. So
And they told us, well, as long as it makes it better, that's not written anywhere in your law that you are making us enforce. We can't waive this stuff. And I think that's where we're at, so.
anything else, Jeff?
You're gonna get phone calls, just so you know. I already know it ahead of time, so if you guys could just tell people, this is the way Department of Health wrote it. Instead of.
Tell them to make the
why
phone
we're
call
not
to the
doing it.
Department of Health.
They don't listen to us either. But this, I've been through this, so just be fair for your landlords. Screaming that it's been 6 months and nothing's happened. We can build a house.
Contact your state representative. It's out of our hands.
The engineer.
Short of doing a board, yes. Want to send it back, tell them, send it back to DOH,
If it's on old,
if it's a replacement system.
right. Is that the way you guys feel?
Do we need to vote on it or anything, or?
That's what the law
That
is.
is what it says, so.
Well, listen, we
We're
aren't
sticking with what it
changing
says. All right. Sorry, folks. All good?
No, but we'll go on.
All good for me
I'm
to
glad
leave?
you said that, Dave.
That's not you, David, John. What else do you have for us, John? You
That's
brought
enough,
two books.
that's enough for today.
Okay,
Have a good one.
thank you, you too.
Public safety. Still say good morning, Tim, so that's a good thing.
Appreciate it. Ours is just one quick request in consultation with the senior safety officer. We would like to request, in the past, apparently they have been reimbursed for boots. And working with Stacy, there was nothing on paper that allowed for that. So she suggested we come to committee and just get approval to reimburse them for safety shoes in accordance with the current standards. The recommendation was like $175, not more than every 2 years. And we do have money in the budget, having budgeted for it.
I'll move it.
And we have a motion
I'll
second.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Good, I'm
Oh
good.
my God,
That
30
works
seconds or
beautiful.
less.
And you look nice.
That's it, thank you. Now it's time for the lawyers, if you thought it was long before. No. Hey, Tony.
I know Jeff and I are sort of together on this.
Tag teaming, okay.
Double hot seats.
Mike can't.
No, we got, yeah,
Oh, okay.
He's right as well.
No,
Yeah.
done it before.
yeah.
The other way around.
Thanks for letting us jump in together. You know, I think part of what we wanted to talk about is certainly, you know, recognizing we are in the midst of really, I guess, aggressive talks on budget and budget cuts. One of the things that my experience has been over the decades of different type of work is stuff you don't see. Is the stuff that's often easier to remove and cut, right? Like if the utilities are underground, we can ignore that. Roads are harder to ignore. Here, our analogy to that would be technology. And when you look at what has happened, especially in the last 5 years of criminal justice, not only the investigation side, the enforcement side, but the prosecution side, the demand and reliance on technology has exploded. And I think Jeff can really talk better to a lot of the tools that they need and that are expected. But the easiest example I have is we had a homicide investigation on a murder in Fort Anne back in the mid, probably around 2017 or so. And that investigation was basically reduced down to countless boxes of paper. And so when I would want to review it, I took 10 boxes in my car and would have all of the lead sheets. We have a well documented, well, 2 cases really in recent time, one in Hebron, but the most recent in Fort Anne. Everything on that case is in here. And that is 6 cell phones from teenagers. It is analysis of automobiles. It is all of the investigation is now captured technologically. And, you know, I think the cost associated with that is great. The benefit is irreplaceable. You know, I'm not speaking out of school because 2 have already pled, and so this has been spread on the record. But not too far from here in Fort Anne, but on a road that sees a lot of traffic but doesn't have a lot of houses, 2 young adults were shot and killed. There was only 1 surviving witness that the evidence shows wasn't involved. And although I think we probably could have eventually figured out who did it, but for the dashboard cam that had a built-in license plate reader in one of the deputies' cars that was responding, much, if not all, the evidence probably would have been destroyed. So what happened is the shooting happens around 8:48 p.m. And before 11 o'clock that night, we have the apartment in Troy where the car that was spotted on the camera was. So that prevented destruction of evidence, destruction of phones, and all of these things that have been utilized in prosecuting that case. And so I know that that takes a tremendous investment, part by all of you folks. But without that technology,
you know, we would be having a very different prosecution. We would have very different conversations with our victims' families. I could go on and on with examples, but I think that same technology that we end up having, we have to house it somewhere, right? And we have to be able to access it, view it. And everybody has their own captive programming. Stewart's uses one system, Cumbies uses another system, McDonald's uses another. But with all of that, we can also complete an investigation and meet with the family and say to them with confidence, we know you had a loved one die in a what is a tragic accident. We could point back to all of the things that exist that were used and captured, and share that. And that to me is, it's hard for the family, but let me tell you, it's invaluable to be able to give them that assurance that law enforcement did everything they're supposed to do. So, you know, I think Jeff has probably thousands of examples of technology that they have to use now and that they use and where that becomes vital. So that was sort of part of everybody discuss or comment.
Johnny, would this also help you? And I might not explain it as well, so you might have to help me. You have so long to get information in a case.
Yep.
And does this technology help you in satisfying that or doing it to your satisfaction and not having to present half of what you would like to in the time frame you have?
We actually, that's a perfect example. Thank you. I mean, we would actually have, so what's happened is because of the investments that we've been able to make, certainly with all of your assistance and then with law enforcement's participation, we've avoided the reality that it's New York City. We're in New York City, 70+% of their misdemeanors are dismissed because they can't comply with that timeline necessary to turn over discovery. So you're right. And one of the issues I know Jeff is going to talk about is his staffing challenge with that. But basically, if we don't and we're deemed to know everything that they have, whether we know it exists or not. So that takes really basically within 30 days, everything that exists has to be given to us. We have to be able to get it in a form that we can understand and review, and then also be able to turn it over in the same timely fashion to defense. So if I couldn't hit a couple of buttons and share it with the defense, if I had to actually download it onto thumb drives or external hard drives, it would be impossible. I mean, just one fraction of the homicide case. There's one thing that we're in the process of trying to remove where we have it to get it in a shareable fashion is 13 gigabytes of data. It's actually quite a lot when we consider where we would have been 10 years ago, 13 gigabytes. Where's our tech people? Jeff, you smarter than I am on tech. I doubt we had anything that was 13 gigabytes. Other than
megabytes, but.
right. And then before that, it was kilobytes, right? I mean, we all have those 800 megabyte CDs. So, but I think Jeff, I know you have some things that
Perfect point.
You limited your intelligence attack.
Did you notice that? You got a Tandy, right?
But then also, one of, before Jeff goes, the other thing to keep in mind, this is, you know, year to date, I think we've opened 1,200 misdemeanors and felons. So it's not one case that we're doing this with, right? It is, and that is a continuing flow of information that includes, I mean, I talked to an investigator today on a case, and he said the first thing we do now when we arrive on a scene is we start looking at the houses that have some form of an external home camera. And then we go to the businesses. I mean, that is just the reality of criminal investigations.
I feel an ask coming on, is it?
Yes, my ask would be mindful of it as you're exploring the consequences of saying to Terry McNall, you know, Terry, we see $800,000 here, or we see $1 million here. We'd like to get rid of that. There are very real consequences to that, and we don't want to have a situation where someone says to us, well, why didn't you tell us that wouldn't be able to job? So it's really just more of to have a conversation, and because those aren't things that we've shared perhaps enough. It's just stuff that we do day to day. I think that's part of it.
And you're correct. I, for one, would not think, okay, this is tied to the sheriff's department or the attorney's office. I'm just thinking this is cyber whatever, and we're spending a lot of money on it.
Yep.
But you guys need that level of technology, and I for one support it 100%.
So if we look at what technology's done and manpower is a real cost, with the treasurer's office, with the automation we put in place over the years, it means be able to scale back its staff because a lot of it's done manually being done by computer programs. But I don't know how in this litigious society, you get to a point where you collect all the data and you had all the data in one place. I mean, some of the, all the kilowatts of data or megabytes or gigabytes is fitting to fill this room up with paper. So it's important to remember in searching, and you're also looking at additional manpower to go put the information.
Yep.
And by the way, just to correct something, my first experience with computer, having moved around Maryland, there was a computer room, they didn't call it that, data processing center, that reel to reels, it was gone to this entire floor. And this phone right here, and at least a million times more power than that one room.
Doesn't be out, it's at least.
So that's a whole.
It doesn't have any contacts.
Yes, did you have anything?
Yeah, I thank you, Tony, for asking me to come and tell. And I know I spoke at the Board of Supervisors meeting when the budget was the topic, a lot of people there. And what I said then, you know, I stand by now, the crimes are only increasing every year. And the severity of the crimes has increased every year. We're dealing with more violent, not only more all volume, more violent crimes, more firearm related crimes. The training that our deputies get to respond to those things is second to none. I mean, we've, with your help and with a lot of grant funding and such, been able to equip them to be able to protect themselves and others, and especially in cases, God forbid, for an active shooter or whatever situation like that. And then to Tony's point, you know, a lot of times I'll come before the board and I'll say, you know, I'm looking for permission to accept this grant because we're gonna buy a Faro device. And I came before you before with that. And it was almost $100,000 and it was approved. And then I leave and you know, to my fault, I guess, really did not explain what that device does or how we use it or anything like that. And it's technology that we have available to us that enables investigators to reconstruct a crime scene in 3D and from like an aerial view of the crime scene. We just recently used it. Well, we use it a lot, but it will, like the one that I watched that was a completed case was a stabbing case in the village of Hudson Falls. And it's like something that you see out of a movie, TV show. And they can reconstruct it digitally, where the knife was, where the body was, where the blood is, where the suspect went, all that kind of stuff. And then when that kind of evidence is presented to the DA, it's certainly extremely helpful to the prosecution. And we spread out that training, not just to investigators, but to deputies, so that, because at a crime scene, you know, even a fatality accident, you know, we don't want the investigators to have all the responsibility of interviewing witnesses, interviewing drivers, interviewing people going around with cameras on houses like Tony mentioned. You know, and then we have X amount of deputies that are directing traffic. And then so in our case, we train deputies to use that equipment as well, just to better the resources, because in the past, if we have an incident that is serious in nature, like those that I just mentioned, we pretty much would not have deputies to respond to any other calls in the county. But now that we are at a staffing level where we can do that, the latest example I can give you was and I brought it up before, it was very tragic, the infant death. You know, we had investigators there, we had patrol officers there. In the past, if our staffing was lower than it is now, they'd pretty much all be at that scene. On that particular day, we were still able to have a south car, have a north car, and have people at that scene. And then you could you know, as the investigation goes on, you can release deputies to go back onto the other posts or whatever. But I don't think, you know, again, when I come before you and I ask for this kind of equipment, I don't really think that, you know, I fully, explain what kind of equipment it is. And the license plate readers, in this case, like Sonny said, without that license plate reader, then we probably still be looking for whoever committed a double homicide in our county. And those are just small examples of body cameras that we have. Only can speak to how many prosecutions our defense attorneys take pleas, because once they watch the body camera, it's clear what happened, you know. And to my point on that, when I have time, I will randomly review body camera footage from our deputies, and I can tell you it's not a Big Brother situation. It's more to confirm what I already know, that the quality of the men and women that we have out there on the road handling calls is just a verification of that the job they're doing when they're interacting with the public. And we haven't used body camera footage as a disciplinary tool since I've been there. So it's more of a confirmation. We've had complaints from the public that deputies were rude or didn't do something right. We play the video and they have them come in and say, do you want to watch the video, or do you want me to tell you what's on the video? And then nine times out of 10, it's definitely not the deputy disrespectful. It's the other way around. But on the discovery end, you know, one of the cuts that I made during the budget discussions was, well, two of the cuts were in the civil office. And one of them, I was very wishy-washy about cutting that, because it became vacant just prior to the need to look at what we could cut and couldn't cut. So I went in and asked the sergeant who oversees civil, who also does discovery, which is what you were asking. You know, any case that we have 4 people doing discovery because of the amount of arrests that we make and transfer all the data to the DA's office. So he's one of them. So without filling that civil vacancy, that means he'd have to add that to his plate as well. And I asked him if he could do that. He said yes, because that's the kind of guy he is. But it's definitely going to be difficult. You know, it's going to be difficult because the cases aren't going to go down, and then the civil activity isn't going to go down. We're still going to have $1 million go through that civil office. So, you know, it's busy. But he's willing to take on that responsibility for that vacancy, just to help with the budget situation.
I think this whole discussion points to, at the last monthly meeting, what you said, Jay, and what you backed up as well, Darrell, to the crowd. Attendees, shall I say. And it is a point where you cut too much. You can't expect to have, when you call the sheriff to be there, you know, as quick as possible and things like that. There are things that have to stay in the budget for a reason. And nobody wants a big tax increase, but you're giving us such an excellent description of things that, in my mind, we have to have.
Just out of curiosity, with all that technology, when you present it to the defense counsel, how much of that makes a difference in going to trial versus a plea bargain?
So,
I mean, the ratio of cases that may have gone to trial now become a plea bargain.
without technology today, there is such a cynicism by both, certainly by defense bar, toward what police say, but also I think a growing extent with the public, that if someone who I've prosecuted for DWI, who was sloppy and a mess, shows up in court dressed like I am right now. And then when you can show the video of how they are behaving, that is because they all tell their attorney, I only had 2 drinks and I wasn't that drunk. And then the attorney gets to see how they were conducting themselves. It changes things. So it's a significant factor in resolving cases. I know in the Fort Ann cases, What we were able to glean from the technology and show defense was able to undercut what their clients were telling them. Which is natural, right? Everyone puts themselves in the best light possible, and it was able to help them advise their client accordingly. So it's really useful. And I think one quick example that I get to see and others don't. We had a case that could have been tragic, could have been awful. Deputies respond to a location looking for a driver of a vehicle that had crashed and there was no operator. And the house, as it turns out, was the wrong house. So defense counsel comes in loaded for bear and basically is suggesting it was a wrongful arrest and contemplating a lawsuit. When you look at the body camera, you realize two things quickly. One, it was a field training. It was a deputy who was also training a brand new deputy. I think it may have been his first night in the car. So when they're trying to find the driver, the guy comes to the door with a gun. And the deputy steps back, trying to talk to him, identifying who he is, goes through the whole process, gets back to the car. What you hear that's amazing is very, I would say very calmly, but urgently says to the new deputy, it's an older gentleman. If he comes out and shoots at us, do not return fire. And that is an amazing step when you realize what they were up against, but we get all of that from the body camera. It was an older gentleman. It has its own issues and reasons why things happen, but defense counsel, once they see that and observe it, they start to realize that perhaps his view of how things were is very different. And I leave with a view of a deputy who's out there training our new deputies, who is amazing, and really knows how to de-escalate something. So I think that's the stuff you get to see, that without the body camera, who's going to believe the deputy when he says, and I calmly instructed my field training deputy to not return, we're all kind of cynical, like there's no way I would have done that. So I think you get to see those things, but it also, you see what they go through the training. So I think that's just sort of a shout out for our deputies, but sort of a real life example of the value of that. Keeps them out of Dan's office with, nuisance lawsuits and what have you that can happen.
Brings them to their rooms.
Yeah, there's that.
And the only thing I'd like to finalize with is that, I think our equipment line, like $20,000 approximately, $20,000 for road patrol for equipment, right? So we have $500,000 worth of equipment, and it's all grants. It's all money that was obtained other than county funds. And I have a captain on the admin side that's just can find money everywhere. And to operate on a $20,000 budget and have the equipment that we have is incredible. And a lot of that, like the case Tony just talked about, one of the pieces of equipment that we have, and I welcome anybody I know that I think I might have mentioned this before, was a grant through Perry Warner, a simulator in our training room. And it's realistic. I mean, it feels like you use a real gun. First of all, they take out the barrel and take out there's a laser pointer that's put in there. And then there's a giant screen, and you're presented with different scenarios, and you have to react. And it's very intelligent software, so you can actually change the results of the scenario. So you might see the same call again, which they do. They go to the same house or domestics or whatever it is. And one time everything's fine, and they never have to draw their pistol or taser. It even works with tasers and rifles. But the next time the guy reaches quickly and he pulls out his wallet, and so it's like, and then the next time he reaches and he pulls out a knife. But and you can also make your own videos, which is what we're in the process of doing. So we can actually go to the facilities like this one, by the way, that's been brought up, to do an active shooter kind of training, videotape within this building, and then recreate scenarios in our training room with deputies so that they are responding to a call, and it's almost like real life. So, but again, I just want to thank the board for the support for getting all this equipment and having all this equipment. And I really honestly think that's one of the reasons we're able to retain people and get people to work for us, is the level of technology that we have that a lot of agencies don't. And, how we support our deputies with that equipment.
Thank you.
What's the status of the contract with Whitehall?
So I talked with the mayor. Hope I'm not talking out of school, but there was some confusion, in the last meeting as to, parts of the contract. And I talked to the mayor after so it was brought up and they kind of tabled it. And then I talked to the mayor after I talked to the village attorney and, who have both assured me that there's a meeting tomorrow night. I wish it was last night, so I could tell you that. Tomorrow night, where they're gonna bring it up the first thing on the agenda. The mayor expects it to pass without an issue. The only change that, we made was, I think I put it in an email to everybody. They requested that the, contract align with their fiscal year, so we had it go until June. So then we would do the contract. We did that for Fort Edward. It's helpful to the village so that, they can do their finances.
Makes sense.
I just saw in the paper, so I thought it is.
Yeah, I didn't know until the paper called me. I was surprised really that.
I didn't know the paper called me either.
What if you and the village were having a fight about it, they're pay for it?
Yeah, thank you for your explanations
Yes.
and examples. Jeff, could you hang for just a few minutes?
Thank you. I can jump on.
You can get up for a minute while we take care of Mike and then we need your.
Yeah, no problem.
Take the chair, make my stand.
Thank you.
Make sure, thanks.
Good afternoon. So we're presently down 2 attorneys, going to be down 3 attorneys soon as a result of a maternity leave. The attorney that's going out on maternity leave is one of the primary family court providers. What my request is permission to overflow files, family court files to the assigned counsel office if necessary when we go down 3 people. There is funding budgeted as far as we've had 2 vacancies for at least a few months. There is that, and there are several funding sources from ILS that we're engaged in renegotiating the allocation of that funding. So if these files were transferred to the assigned counsel office, they're currently not funded. There would be a cost because the files would become paid files. But I do think the cost is covered by our current 2025 payroll savings. And I do think there is funding available from ILS that could be reallocated to cover this cost.
Thank you for offering up a creative solution, number one. Number two, it's really a question. So is this a finance question because of the lines? Because the reason why I'm asking is, Mike, as a director, coming to the committee to request permission to transfer work. I mean, that to me seems like we're getting in the middle of his business. I mean, I wanna, if it's we got, green money and black money and we can't mix the two, we gotta do something that.
Well, I think part of it, even though we're no longer specifically under the Pearl Herring agreement. The issue is obviously with Mike being down 3 attorneys very shortly is much like the situation in my office. We only have so many bodies to cover so many places.
Right.
And I think it's, for lack of our term, it's more of a service issue. And if Mike's running 15 different places and trying to cover family court, the quality of service that we're required to provide goes down potentially fairly significantly. So I know we had a administrator, myself, the budget officer was here. I don't think Al was present. 3 members of Mike's office, down choppy in the meeting. This was one of the discussions that we had, at least it's hopefully only a short term, at least until hopefully Molly returns from training.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also discussion of hire part-time attorneys for family court.
Yeah, I'm okay with the solution because I think that's out of the box thinking and I really welcome that. So thank you for that. And I just want to make sure that we're not.
Should we be moving it as a committee to set, or should we be moving it to finance? I guess that's.
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with.
I'll
Making it
defer to
happen.
the treasurer on it.
There's there's no board action to take until such time as Tom doesn't have enough money in this line and he needs to budget it. The more important thing is for Mike and the county administrator to work to get funds reallocated on the Pearl Herring grant money that we have. Because just remember, I love his solution, but it's an expensive solution if not funded by ILS. So the important thing, and I apologize, I wasn't at the meeting, I was way out of the office.
Yeah.
The solution costs $158 an hour, Irvin.
Yeah.
Right, so we just wanna make sure that we don't lose sight of getting the money moved from, Mike's Pearl Herring Award into Tom's Pearl Herring Award. They've been very good working with the county on moving monies around within the grant. So I don't see a hesitation on their end, but we just need to remember to do it.
Well, Tom actually has the grant. And I think it's a question of renegotiating the contract, because the contract provides that the grants to be used to hire a social. And it's a year-old grant.
You're talking about a $700,000.
Talking about the family court grant that is funding for family court, and this is family court. The other thing I would add, what I'm proposing here is a short-term fix till we can address staffing. And the cause of all of this is staffing. Because
That again
we can't,
requires him to renegotiate the budget.
we can't attract attorneys because that assigned counsel rate went up so much that the attorneys that would ordinarily be available for this work are choosing to go with the 18B representation because I think they believe they're earning more.
And Tom was involved in that discussion that we had last week, and I'll follow up with him to make sure
Okay.
that funding is available.
But it is a short-term proposal here. This is nothing long-term that I'm talking about. It's short-term until we can either hire part-timers or full-timers to address our family court requirement.
Yeah.
I think
Wait, do you want resolution that the same committee was in support of your short-term payment? So you
No,
could go
I
to
think-
ILS or
I think
you
Tom and I-
Okay.
Tom and I just wanted to make sure you were both
Yeah.
aware of it. I don't think either one of us need a resolution as long as Al's okay with it as well.
Yeah, did you have something?
Yeah, what happens, Mike, if we don't do it?
If we don't overflow the file.
Yeah.
I think Dan kind of spoke to it. You could see a dramatic decrease in services that could even potentially create a further liabilities. To be as direct as I can be, I mean, services will go way down. They could go down so much that it's potentially a liability.
Go ahead.
What percentage of these cases do we provide legal services for?
In family court, I would say that, and I'm guessing here, I'm not guessing, I'm making an educated estimate. 85 or 90% of the caseload is represented by attorneys that aren't private attorneys. So my office, they only take one party. Family court matters often have at least two parties and sometimes more than two parties. And so the family court caseload is a lot. It's 5 days a week and it's every day. It's not just our office. It's a huge burden to the site council office also.
So if we would provide legal services for anybody that asks for them, there must not be any more income threshold or.
In my view, and I'm in family court a lot, we provide services at the percentage I'm estimating, right? I would say, I mean, I'm not concerned that we're providing services to people that aren't eligible. We're an impoverished county and we're an impoverished family. We aren't handing out services and family court to a lot of people that are ineligible for them. I'm pretty confident that's not happening. So.
If I can address Scott's comment a little further. I know when I file a neglect proceeding, and especially if we're looking to remove a child in foster care, judge is going to assign Mike's office another attorney right off the bat. One of the reasons is the law states that if we have the hearing and the person doesn't have counsel presence, they get another shot at the hearing later on. So on the one hand, we don't want to have to do something 2, potentially 3 times. Additionally, as Mike said, unfortunately, part of what we can't control is the right to assign. So speaking, Judge McLean's been pretty good about it. Although I will say usually once someone's assigned something, if it's one of my child protective cases right off the bat, they're probably going to keep that person even if they do qualify later. It's usually a fairly rare scenario if something happens quickly that a retained attorney is going to come in. It does happen on occasion, but at least at the first get-go, it's very rare that it happens.
So, yeah. Attorney Martindale brought this up a few times, Chairman, and I would encourage you to consider adding to your advocacy packet our ability to be able to charge for those refilings, right? Dan has brought this up more than once. We're barred right now under OCA to do that. So maybe we can consider our advocacy packets to include our ability to charge that refiling fee that may slow down that leaving the courtroom and immediately.
Yeah, we've got it on this already.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Anything else, Mike?
Sorry,
Nope.
Information.
Thank you.
Oh, Mike, thanks for the solution or temporary solution.
Gap step.
Have a good afternoon.
I do not.
Okay. Matt, you want to come up here a minute, please? Sure. I asked Matt to come in, and I know we're back to regular meetings, but the budget is still on everybody's front of their minds, and we're trying to find some solutions here to different things. And it was brought up recently, to me and some others. Now that we have public health and property extension, everything moved out of the annex and it's basically an empty building, we're not ready to tear it down. Is there any way or solution that we could either utilize it for youth detention with some modifications or homeless, putting in cots and stuff for homelessness? And, we're gonna vote on a budget here in another few weeks that we're not happy about. And I don't know if I can vote on one unless we're finding some solutions down the road to some of our major costs here. And I was watching the news the other day and tell me if I'm wrong, Treasurer, but we do pay for hotels in Saratoga County and in Warren County. Yet Saratoga has a shelter and they were showing some of the homeless camping out because they don't want to be in the shelter, but I don't think they're putting any of theirs in their own hotel rooms. So we need to get a solution. So I asked Matt what the viability and we also have to know from the sheriff, what it would entail if we were gonna use for the youthful detention, which is costing us a lot. And we probably need to know from social services, you guys can ask tomorrow, I probably won't be here, what it would need to be a shelter to put homeless into. Go ahead, Matt.
Building obviously is still powered. Public health hasn't quite moved yet, but we're close. Although the building isn't, office ready, it's not gonna meet standards for the Department of Health. I kind of just sent out this morning, our last study that we had done. It's been done a couple times. And it was 2018, I believe it was like $2 million to bring it up to standard office codes at that time. That's 2018. So since then, we've actually not only compounded the cost to make it office space, we've compounded the problems, the roof, there's different other issues that would have to be habitats for. So generally speaking, for office space, I would say it really can't be an option. What I started to work with on the sheriff yesterday, we were looking at, he's kind of come up with, started to get some of the things that he would need to do a juvenile detention center. Some of them may not be, where we are, achievable, due to the security. The homeless stuff, I would really have to talk to social services director. I don't know where, like, all this falls. If we call it a, a homeless shelter, what codes are we, taking on for the liability to make that building correct? If our boilers crap out in the middle of winter, well, it's not a warm building anymore. So, there's a cost to running the building, even if, and I imagine, I don't know the numbers that we're spending. I don't have that information on motels, but it sounds like it's very expensive.
You wanna throw a number out, or you gonna look at that?
Well, I know that we lost over $5 million last year, so anything short of that's a win, I think.
Right. I don't. It would really be on you if you decided that was a location for a homeless shelter. I don't think, after talking to the sheriff, it would be feasible to do a youth detention center there. But for the homeless shelter, somebody would just have to give me, here, Department of Health says you have to do this, whatever. And we would have to decide, here's what it would take. And I'd come back to you with, this is what it would take to make this a homeless shelter. I don't know the regulations. I'm not against it, at all.
I just wanna.
I just know
we
if
need
we
to
aren't
find
gonna
it.
do that, right? If we aren't gonna do that, or if we don't express and look into it quickly, we're just kind of, we need to shut the buildings down. We have to, drain it, turn the power off and that sort of stuff. So we're not paying for two buildings. I think some of the things, just come to my mind is it a homeless shelter? Are we responsible for the cleaning of it? What are we responsible for if we call it a homeless shelter? I don't know those answers.
Approximately how many square feet and how many separate rooms are there currently in the building?
Separate rooms. I'm just gonna guess.
All in place.
The second floor, you'd probably have 12 to 15. The square footage is around 12,500, maybe 13,000 square feet. The basement right now kind of floods.
Oh, it's not a dry basement.
Not a dry basement anymore. There's some issues that we would have to take care of.
We've got a pool.
We have two pumps. We have two pumps that run continuously. And when I started, there was one that just ran sometimes, and now there's two that run continuously to keep the groundwater out because there's, the under drain systems have completely filled.
Hey,
So I'm saying, I think that I've asked many times about using that building for other things. I think that what Matt sent out this morning, we should review and look at it. But I would suggest that probably before the next government operations meeting, is have Matt go through it again and see what else is there that must have come up. That study's 7 years old. We really don't know what else has happened in that building. So I just want to make sure we're not running into issues with health department, because health department is certainly gonna look at this.
So I am very familiar with the standards to make office buildings, because we're going through it that we're going. And this study was what propelled we're going, because we felt the investment into that building was a way bigger return than the investment into that building. And that's, not everybody was here at the time, but that was the decision that was made. We went with it. It was behind us. I think it was March that everybody reviewed the, Annex 1 study. I have it written down in pen. It's in my file, like, here's the date. And it was unanimously like, hey, we don't want to do anything with that building. So, now, that being said, this is a different use. What Jay's saying, and all I can do is look into it,
Scott.
So from what little I know, from what little I've learned, and Al might know more about this, the requirements for a not-for-profit are different than if we try to run it ourselves. So I suggest that our plan kind of go along the lines of, we provide the place, do whatever we need to do to upgrade that building to be acceptable. And we reach out to Open Door or one of the other shelters in the area and say, we have a place where you can expand. I'm pretty sure they're all full, so they're all looking for more beds. We provide beds and let them run it, and then
I think this is a great idea, you know, it's something new, you know, what we shot it down for was office space. Now, it's just, I heard about it yesterday, so. And Melissa first.
I just gave the information on Annex 1 to the new DSS commissioner this morning. So I assume he'll have some information tomorrow at committee, at least because he does have that experience, not profit. So maybe he'll have some information what the requirements are. I do know in talking to him, it does have to be staffed, so there's an expense there. I was over there yesterday, and I know we said that the Department of Health, you said it wouldn't pass the regulations as far as office space. Did we get cited or something for that, or is it just? I understand when you build a building, there's certain requirements, and I know they're a lot higher than what they used to be. But looking at that building yesterday, as far as just offices. What, I guess I'm just curious why.
So structure of the building to start with is, you know, it's actually was an old sawmill. Reason why it's in a hole is the back end toward our garage was, you could go in with trucks and stack things, and then you could come from the outside, you know, and pull them off the shelves. It was turned into an office building. What happens is simple things, when we go to do a remodel of any sort, I mean, some simple stair treads. First thing it triggers is I have to do, you know, a hazardous materials survey. So I gotta pay somebody to come out. This is the difference between me, you know, just as a person or a nonprofit, or us being government. I have to get, you know, hazardous materials survey. They're boom, right out the get-go. They gotta come test everything before I do anything. That building is in the age of materials that, you know, aren't acceptable anymore.
So what if we didn't do a remodel? I understand the remodel, right, and the regulations being higher, but what if,
So-
right now, it's already office
We,
space?
if you looked at what I sent, I know it's just.
I have,
you may
no, I've
not.
looked at it.
You know, if we have to replace the boilers tomorrow because they're, you know, on the last leg, or if they're, you know, we have water issues and the moisture, you know, all those things start triggering everything. You know, we kind of limped it at this point to get people out of there so we didn't have to run into some of these problems. If it starts leaking and we need a roof tomorrow,
So I guess that's where I mean, it seems like it's a lot of ifs, right? I know it's not a new building. I know there's a lot of things that could go wrong with it. The thing is, our economic situation has changed so drastically in the last 6 months that what we thought we didn't have to use before, now we may need to
so
use.
can I ask you what your suggested use of it is?
Well-
Is it different than this?
There's
Is
three,
this a
I
different
think,
discussion than what Jay
I think
is?
there's 3 different uses, 2 of which Supervisor Skelly or Chairman Skelly already mentioned. Juvenile facility or homeless, or if we can't do either one of those, because those obviously would have to be major remodels. For both of those, can we use it for office space, which we are also in the need
Can
for?
I respond to that?
Yeah.
So if we are gonna have to bring it up to codes to put homeless or juveniles in there, but we're okay putting employees in there.
They may have different
Without,
requirements.
without doing the.
Well, we've had employees in there. It's not,
There's a reason why-
but it's a new item.
Right.
Sure, because we found, well, we bought a building that obviously is now really, really nice because of the money and the upgrades that have gone into it, but we can't afford to build another building right now, I believe.
We're looking, you know, when the conversation is looking at a permanent solution, it could be a temporary solution for the next number of years to get there. You know, it depends how we look at it, what we have to do to get there now. I really think that we need to revisit the study you did and look and see if there's any change to that building, because you said he doesn't know if we're homeless or what.
I got John, then Sue, and then Cassie. Go ahead, John.
I'm taking Scott's point of view at it. You say remodel it, then see if we can get somebody to come in and run it. Can we lease it to one of those nonprofit organizations for $1 and let them do the whole show?
So,
In the homeless population, there's different groups that can't be together, you got family, and so, and when you start looking at that and breaking it out, you know, as who our homeless population are, that's gonna set the tone for whether you want.
that's where social services happens to help. Cassie.
Bunch of questions. First one. None of this would have to be for winter anyway, right? You gotta put it in the planning stages, you gotta look at it, you gotta reevaluate, you gotta do everything. And Matt told us at the last meeting that it's an expensive building to have, and he have it shut down before winter so that we weren't wasting the money. So, since none of this is, even if you decided today, which you aren't, none of it's gonna happen before winter, I don't think. So we probably could still go ahead with doing what you could to save money by not having the building heated. Another question was, on that study, has any of those upgrades been done? We didn't do any of them, right? Because we moved to Burgoyne.
We didn't do any of the upgrades.
So in your opinion, the estimation of cost values that were given in 2019 versus what would be 2026 or 2027? What's the percentage of increase you think was in there?
If you're looking at doing what's in that study for 2 million now, you're probably looking at $5 to $6 million worth of repairs.
And what was in the study and what might have come up since then?
Yeah.
So just because like in my own business, there's always a double that, is it really worth throwing good money after bad if you can't fix something? Sometimes it is just better to put a building down and build a new one. But then, and another question, we didn't really, I forgot it.
Before we go on from that question, Mr. Treasurer, how much do we spend every day in hotel?
Like I said, with the loss last year, anything under $5 million would be welcome from me.
But
I can also tell you that the cost that Matt's referring to, with all due respect, were to make it a nice upgraded office space. And if I remember correctly, there was also an elevator in there. We're not talking about the Taj Mahal. We're talking about a safe place for homeless people who are transitioning into something better.
Dry.
Warm,
and
safe.
dry, debatable, but
And the
the
sheriff.
other thing is.
Upstairs is dry.
And we could have the sheriff provide meals too, instead of giving them a meal cost. Just walk over.
And you're also looking at the difference of, we had a horrendous problem, and if steps are being taken to improve the homeless situation. You know, I don't necessarily think that the 5 million is versus the new money, you know, the new thing. If you're moving ahead, maybe problem isn't as expensive, so then it would change the ratio of throwing money. I mean, I'm just being the other side of the coin. It all sounds nice to fix something, but having done renovations and taken a quick stab at reading the report that he sent ahead, I mean, it does say in there that they believe the way the tiles are in the ceiling, whatever that they do, would contain asbestos, and there would be a problem. And that some of the, I forget if it was the heating system or the cooling system, should be replaced because it's old. So I mean, some of that stuff is in that study, but I had to read it really quick because it came while I was driving up here.
Yeah.
So I really haven't had a chance to look at it.
question for you, should read it.
Lucky you didn't run in the back of the school.
No, it wasn't there when I left home, and it was here when I got here.
Me.
I was busy watching the log from
I think even if it costs $100,000 to put a new boiler in that building, we could get 2 years out of that building and drastically reduce our hotel rooms. We're way money ahead. And the other thing is, I really feel that right now, where we are, the only thing we should have to be required to do is provide that building that's warm, dry, and safe. Anything else, I think, because if you go up to Rutland, you look at the hotels and these homeless have lived in up there. That building is by far much farther ahead than those buildings are up there. They're happy in those buildings. They destroyed perfectly good hotels.
I brought this up, not to drag on all day, but plant a seed so we can get thinking, because I don't want to be sitting here in September next year, still throwing money
And
out the door.
I want to compliment whoever had this idea, because
And I want to just tell you, can we throw this at, so see if our DSS. Get
I
with
hope
a
it's coming
nonprofit.
up tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we can get a hold of a nonprofit, we're willing to, like you said, lease it for $1. Whatever, and they are willing to take it on, that might be the best approach.
It's an amazing opportunity for a public-private partnership, for sure.
I mean, and just say one more thing, just because I'm cynical as I am. We're providing these apartments or whatever, hotel rooms in 2 of the best Northeast entertainment places in the world. Whatever is any motivation to move on and go somewhere else when you get to stay right in the center of all the happening that's going on. Don't, I'm sorry. Carl.
I think it's great this, ESS is gonna have an opportunity to take a look at it. A little quick study needs to be done. Such as how many rooms could there be actually there? If each room's costing us about $120, $140 a night. If we save 20 rooms, that's great. If we save 30 rooms, that's even more. What's it gonna cost to get it up? That's the study that will be going on. As this is getting launched. ESS and with you, we met, and anybody else we need.
So, two things. Number one, you talk about $5 million to fix it, and $5 million, it's not gonna save us $5 million because we can't. There's no way we can house all the homeless in that one room.
$5 million to fix it the way that study said.
I understand it, but we're assuming that it's gonna solve our homelessness, it's only gonna solve a portion of it.
Well,
But it's not gonna save us $5 million. That's the only point.
neither is doing nothing.
We understand it.
I think it's great that Supervisor Skelly brought this up, to come up today's meeting. I think that the urgency here is that Matt had mentioned in the last committee meeting that he was, the intention was to shut that building down
Right,
sooner
drain
than
it.
later. And I think you all know, once you shut heat off of to a building, you can pretty much guarantee it's gonna go downhill really quickly. So I think that's why, coming up now, this discussion is very good.
Ian.
Quick question, just for clarity, when you talk about second story, first story, basement, I recall it's like half of 3 or 4 steps down to downstairs. Is that the basement or does it go another floor below
No,
that?
that's the basement. It's like 10 steps down, 10 steps up from that side door.
Right, so isn't the basement higher than the parking lot of the sheriff's department? Where you could run a tile out and drain it?
There's a tile now that goes somewhere we don't know. If they tracked it like 800, it's the whole under drain. There's groundwater up there underneath that building.
Right, I
And it-
understand it, but it drains easily, just like a farmer knows, you drain a field if you got a load of it.
Into
You
his
got the
parking.
parking lot of the sheriff's
Right,
department.
you would have to dig it back up in the middle of that parking lot with all the utilities there. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's not as simple as
But
you.
what is it? It's only 200 feet.
It's high, but they're higher there, right? It's not, I mean, I don't have a survey of it right in front of me, but my guess is the sheriff's parking lot, and then it goes uphill, but that basement sits down, I would say you're somewhere.
I think you have got sort of dropping. I think 811 will tell you where your utilities are. Then we could drain that. It's very simple.
So, if the cost is so much there, do we knock it down and how many multifamily little trailer units can we park side by side? Right?
So I would,
needs to be looked at. I'll let you say one more thing and I know everybody's itchy, so.
yeah, I just want to be clear, I don't mind, I will look into what it takes for like the homeless shelter. I work with the DSS commissioner. And, cause there's codes and stuff like that. What I sent out this morning around the email was, we're gonna make it an office building. And it is 2 different uses. We paid a study twice. Paid for it twice, both times it was a full committee that said, we aren't attempting to make this an office building. It's not good for this. This is a different use. I will definitely look into it. It's worth the shot to look into this if it's gonna save us money. But I just wanna make sure that this doesn't open it back up to, hey, we're gonna stick our employees in there again, because that creates a wholly different, I have to have another person to claim because now we're claiming, there's a lot of cost to sticking people back in that building.
Mr. Chairman, do you want the final word?
I do.
I had a hand up here.
Oh, I'll take you
Before
first.
give him the final.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions. Homelessness, if that's what you would use it for, there would be money for DSS to do the upgrade, correct? So
Well-
it would be a net cost to the county of 5 million, say, for example, if that wasn't. There would be homeless money, correct?
I don't have that answer. That would be
You guys know?
commissioner.
I don't know how the capital cost works, Supervisor, we could find out.
If you would, that'd be something. Another question, Melissa, you had mentioned outside of homelessness, has there been any discussions about what offices and departments you could look at?
There's been a lot of discussions, everything from, I've heard veterans going over there. I've also heard, sheriff's office investigators that are downstairs, giving them a spot outside of the office, that they're in now. because we do have use for the downstairs here. Leap right now currently has an office downstairs. They have the food pantry in Annex 2. We just put Meals on Wheels, which I know they don't like to be called that anymore, nutritional services in Annex 2. But there's 3 of them, and so I think they're
There's
utilizing
18
like 2
total.
offices over there. Yeah, but their drivers are not sitting in the
No, but
office.
they have to, they come.
They just come get their keys and then they go, but then there's also offices still in Annex 2 that are empty. So I think we need to talk about what we want to do with these outside buildings and who we can put in them. Maybe there isn't a use for them. I know the original plan was to get rid of all those buildings over there, but I think our, economic situations changed that.
I'm really glad to have this conversation because we had almost an identical conversation 10 years ago when I wanted to build a Code Blue shelter, when everybody else built their Code Blue shelter. Which is what we'd be using to house our homeless now. It was, wildly shot down. I think it's good that we've come around to the idea of a public, private cooperation here to do something like that, which is what we tried to do 10 years ago. I wish it had, I would have been anywhere near the problem.
I wasn't aware that there was talk of moving my employees. I'd like to be involved in some discussions if they're ongoing, so benefits of my office to have the investigators where they are. That would shock, but
Well, originally they were only put there as it wasn't really a permanent situation that they were moved there. It was, something temporary. That's what we discussed a year ago, but.
yes, and we found out that having the right there, great benefit because they have access to the district attorney's
We
office.
let you in and now you never want to. go.
It's like a homeless person.
The other thing was, I was surprised about is we're in the middle of a budget where we're cutting a whole bunch of people and then we're cutting people and we decided maybe we'll keep the building open for more space. That didn't work.
Well, let us roll
Motion to
with that.
adjourn.
It's a building that we constantly very.
I just had a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much.